Welcome to another episode of Online Dating with Patsy the podcast. Please welcome to my show, Kimberlee, who met her husband on Craigslist. Welcome, Kimberlee.
Thank you so much for having me, Patsy.
Tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the juicy stuff.
I am a wife, a mother, a grandmother of the most handsome little 1-year-old to ever walk the face of the earth, in my opinion. But I'm not at all biased.
Of course not. You sound too young to be a grandma.
Oh, well, God bless you. I am 45. I'll put it out there. I am a small business owner from Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Cool. Now, you met your husband on Craigslist. I've heard so many stories about Craigslist, and a lot of them aren't good. But I've sold a lot of stuff on Craigslist over the years. So tell us your story.
So I was actually in church leadership. I was a worship leader. And what we had, a staff meeting, a leadership meeting type thing. And we were all given this assignment to put ourselves in a position to be 100% totally and completely rejected. Purpose being you grow from rejection. So, me being the person that I am, I don't have a whole lot of a filter half the time. Go big or go home. I put an ad on Craigslist saying, I want to go out to lunch and you're paying.
I love it.
And it was one of those things that I got some of the typical responses that you would expect to get, that were very inappropriate. Had some people that, saw my picture and rejected me because of my body type.
Ugh.
But then I got this one message that stuck out. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to talk to this guy. And now I'm married to him. We've been together almost 5 years now.
Oh, that's awesome. So what was the first date like? Or when you first met?
So actually, the first time we met face to face, it was a very strange situation. We started talking September 7th of 2016. September 10th of 2016, we had made our lunch date for September 11th. Just because that it happened to be a day that we both had available. September 10th, my mother passed away. And I was in the throes of my recovery and everything else. I hadn't, been out of rehab very long because I am a recovered addict, and so I was struggling, and I had just gotten home from the nursing facility where my mother was. I had said got to say my goodbyes, came home, and I was a wreck. And all of a sudden, John texted me. He was like, "Hey, what's up? Are you awake?" And I was like, "Dude, you have no clue what I've been dealing with." And I just kind of unloaded on him. And because of what I was already dealing with, I had made a very poor choice and put a call in to somebody that I shouldn't have. Had stuff on its way to me and had all intentions of using and possibly ending my life that day. And when John messaged me, I told him what was going on. He's like, "You know what? Let's go get coffee." And at 6 in the morning, we went to Village Inn and had coffee for 3 hours. And that was our first date, was the day that my mother passed away, just so he could help calm me down and help me get through it.
That's wonderful. That sounds like a keeper right away.
Very much so. Very much
Oh
so.
my gosh. That's wonderful. Did he, I guess, keep calling after and then you guys dated regularly?
So our relationship moved very fast. I
Yeah.
had 2 previous marriages. one that ended in divorce. My second husband passed away. He had had a very lengthy marriage that had fallen apart. And so we both, we had lunch the next day, kept that original lunch date, um, and we were talking daily, like multiple times a day. And we both kind of said, okay, you know what, look, we are too old for games. I was 40, he was 45. We're like, we've been there, done this. Let's just lay it all out on the line. This is what I want from you. This is what I need from you. If you can't give me that, just say so now. We cut ties. It's all good.
Yeah.
But if you commit, if you say you're going to do it, then you're doing it.
Yeah.
And we both laid it out on the line. And um, honestly, within a month, we were engaged.
Sweet.
And 6 months later, April 30th of 2017, we got married.
Awesome. Now, does he have any children?
We both actually have adult children.
Okay.
My
Oh,
daughter
even.
is 23, and
Mhm.
his biological daughter is 21. They're
Mhm.
actually, I think his birthday is in May. My daughter's is in June. So they're almost exactly 2 years apart.
Wow. Wow. So here you went in to Craigslist to be rejected.
And walked out with a marriage proposal.
Everybody that's listening to this, that's how you do it. Go do it. Go do it. I feel like just doing it as a joke just to see what happens.
Well, and the funniest part about it is the pastor that gave me that assignment has become my best friend, my mentor. I took an entrepreneurial course with him,
Mhm.
and that's one of the assignments that he gives in the entrepreneurial class. Even is this rejection assignment. Well, this year's class, he told them, what had happened with me, and not one student believes them. So I told him, I was like, you know what? I'm actually getting ready to go on a podcast and talk about this. I will send you the link. I am proof
Yes.
that it works.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Because I mean, my blog and my podcast is all about online romance scammers and the stories they tell and blah, blah, blah. Very early on in my blog, when I started it in 2016, and somebody had emailed me and said, you should find some stories about people who actually met people, their spouses online. I had two friends that one used Match.com, the other one actually got lucky on Plenty of Fish. And so when I started the podcast, I thought, well, I want to do that again. Get other people that I don't know and get their stories because, I'm not downing dating sites. I'm really not, but I'm just trying to say, hey, be careful when you're out there. But I want to share the positive side. Yours is awesome. It's a hoot and it's awesome because you actually didn't go in there to meet anybody. You were
No.
going to be rejected and boom, you met the guy that you're married to now.
Ex-
I love this story.
exactly. I went in there with no expectation, and I think honestly that's where the difference lied, because I had
Yeah,
done the dating site thing, and I had dated people off of them, but it just never turned into anything that was going where I wanted it to go. And
right.
so, when John and I first started talking, I had no expectations. And it wasn't
Mhm.
until we sat down and actually had a conversation about, hey, you know what? This is what I'm looking for, and,
Yeah.
put it on the line. And we're very honest about it, that it blossomed into what it is. And now, here, like I said, almost 5 years later, we are very happily married. We very rarely ever have a fight.
Yeah.
We talk about everything. We've, according to Taj, who is the pastor that is the reason we met, the man that married us, we've got the ideal marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. I always believe honesty is the best policy. And to go into something I mean that's kind of how I am. I'm on the heavy side, but I don't care. I like myself and I think that's has a whole lot to do with how women, how I wish everybody felt, even if you don't think you're beautiful. Hey, I think I'm awesome. I am not Angelina Jolie and I will never be her and I don't want to be her. I'm me. So, I mean, I try to do the empowering thing for women. And I think if you just go out there and you meet some guy and say, look, this is it, baby. Okay. I'm an awesome person. I got a great personality. I got the kindest heart you're ever going to find, and I'm faithful. You know, um, when you said you laid your cards on the table, what did you tell him?
I
Or do you wanna share that?
I was straight about my past. I
Mhm,
I was very open about the two marriages that I had had, what went wrong with them. Um, Honestly, couldn't point out a whole lot of good just because of the situations.
mhm.
First marriage was just a joke. I thought I was in love. He wanted a green card. Second
Yeah,
marriage was full of the addiction and abuse.
yeah.
So I was very upfront about that. I was very upfront about my addiction and my recovery to that point. And in rehab, I had actually learned, what I was truly worth and what I
Mhm.
deserved. And that's what I told him. I know what I deserve out of a relationship. And this is what I bring to the table. I work, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. And this
Mhm.
is what I can give. But if I'm going to give this, you're going to give me this.
Yeah.
And we did this back and forth. And it wasn't like we were bargaining or anything, but we were just very upfront with what had failed in previous relationships and what we learned out of that.
That is fascinating. I love it, honesty is the best policy, put your cards on the table. I love it. I love it.
Very much so. And
Um
I mean, that's what we've done ever since. Like I said, we talk about everything. And it's not to say I can't go out and spend money. I could, I make plenty of money. I could spend it however I want. But
yeah.
because, we know that's an issue that he had with his first marriage. There was no
Yeah.
communication about that. So we communicate. Like, I don't even buy a can of Monster at work without saying,
Mhm.
hey, honey, this is what I'm doing. He's never
Yeah.
said, no, you're not allowed to, but we communicate about that. We sit
Yes.
down at the beginning of the week and we plan out, okay, this is what we're having each night of the week. Do you have an issue
Mhm.
with it? If not, suck it up and let's get it out.
Yeah.
And we've learned that balance and, what the other one needs, from each other. And I comment to people all the time. I'm very spoiled in my relationship now because this is a man who works full time, works an evening shift in a restaurant, standing all night, five
Mhm.
days a week, and still at home does all the laundry, does
Oh my
all the
gosh.
dishes, vacuums the floor, takes care of all of that so that I can run my own business.
Oh my gosh. You hit the
I
jackpot.
did. I really did. I mean, if there was a lotto for husbands, I won.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. I really appreciate you sharing your story. Now we met on the Podcast Nation Facebook page, which is where I met so many wonderful people. Please tell us, you said you do 3 podcasts. So tell us about them.
So I started my first podcast in February of this year called This Fat Girl Life. And the entire focus of that podcast is to help others to know their worth and love themselves in the bodies that they're in. This is an area where I struggled for
Mhm.
36 years because of what I went through as a child with my stepfather. And if I can help one other person not to struggle with that, then I feel I've succeeded. So that's podcast number one. Podcast number two is called The Rope of Hope. And it's all about people coming on and being very vulnerable and sharing things that they've gone through so that others that are dealing with that same situation feel like they're not alone, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and that they're going to get through. It's going to look different for every person, but they're not struggling alone. They're not on an island by themselves.
Mhm.
And then the third podcast, which just started in June, is called Big Beautiful Badasses, all about
Oh, I love
celebrating the
it.
plus size community in all of our fluffy glory.
I have to check that out. That and the first one.
Well, I record every Sunday. It's
Mhm.
actually live streamed to Facebook via
Oh,
video.
sweet.
It also live streams to YouTube. It video is found on Instagram, and then there's the audio version of it as well, which is on Apple, Spotify, Google, you name it, it's out there.
All the usual suspects.
Exactly.
You're my new best friend. I have to check those 2 out, you know. I've always had a weight issue, and it's not because of any reason. I like food, and I like how it tastes,
Right?
you know? I remember I'm a type 2 diabetic. I have been since 2006, and I've, lost like 50 pounds. I've kind of put some of it back on, especially the last year and a half because I'm working from home.
Hmm.
And I remember my work had this diabetes at work program. And so I thought, oh, this is great. It was over your lunch hour. They had a nurse, and every week she'd have some specialists come in. Well, one of the early times was the dietitian. And so you got to talk to the dietitian. And, I'm a very picky eater. I don't like vegetables. I love salads. I love, I love some, but I'm just real picky. And so she would be like, "Do you like this? Do you like that?" I'm like, "No, I'm no." And I go, "For me, it's all about taste." I said, and this is going to sound crazy, but I said I compare it to sex. I said I bite into like a really good sandwich or a steak or whatever, and it's like I get a foodgasm. You know,
Exactly.
I
Yes.
and I said, that's what, and then she goes, you're just one of those people. It's all about taste. If it doesn't taste good, you don't want to put it in your mouth. And I said, yeah, for the most part, I'm very healthy. I walk, I got a little, as my grandmother would say, there's more to love. I always use the term, no, I'm not fat. I'm voluptuous. Um,
Love
fun
that.
stuff like that. But I've got to check that out, especially the badass one. That's me. I am a badass.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm not a fan of the vegetables all the time either, but I found these frozen vegetables from Green Giant. They're simply steamed. It's covered in cheese.
Oh, geez, everybody's best friend.
Exactly. We eat them all the time. You
Hmm.
microwave it for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
You might check those out. Just putting that out there because they're amazing.
I will try it. I will try it. My daughter, some of my friends here, they're going to be thinking like, "Wait, what's wrong with Patsy? She doesn't do that."
Yeah, I normally don't either, but I absolutely
Yeah,
love those. I will eat them
yeah.
every night.
But I love a good salad. I love going to an Italian restaurant with good dressing, and I mean, I do get that. Of course, I take a lot of vitamins to make up for all the other stuff. So
Yeah, same here. Same here.
it has been so awesome talking to you. I can't thank you enough for being on
Of
here.
course, I've loved it.
And your story is just every time somebody comes on here and tells me how they met their spouse on online dating, every story is so different. I love it. And yours is one of them that's way up there.
Well, I'm glad that I was able to share it, and hopefully, somebody's gonna glean something from it, and
Yeah.
realize that sometimes it's worth taking the risk. You
Yes.
got to be smart about it. Use
Yeah.
caution anytime you do online dating. Look at,
Yes.
if there's red flags, then back off from
Yeah.
it.
And my blog will show you every one of those red flags.
Yeah, I've seen them all, and I've watched my daughter go through it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
not everybody is out to get you, and
Right.
sometimes you just have to listen to your heart. And
Yeah.
my heart led me the right way.
Oh, gosh, that's so sweet. Kimberly, thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right. That was an incredible story from Kimberly. So, ladies, I guess what we do is we just have to go out there and tell guys, buy me dinner and see what happens. I've used Craigslist for selling stuff before, but I've never done their dating thing because I heard too many creepy things. But I'm glad to hear this phenomenal story from Kimberly. Now, I got an email from Special Agent Marie Smith, who was on episode 4 of my show, and she sent me the scammer story of the week. Now, if you read my blog, read my blog, excuse me, you would have seen, I think this was my latest post. But I have to read this to you because it is so good. A local police detective went to talk to an elderly gentleman about being the victim of a romance scam and his money mule activity. The man was reshipping phones for his girlfriend he met online. A reverse image search of the woman showed she was actually a popular porn star. The best part is the man said we're married, and I know she's real because she sent me some things with her pictures on them. He showed the detective a lampshade from his wife had sent him. It had a picture of her holding two dogs on the lampshade and printed text that said, I love you, husband Bob. I've heard of them sending flowers, but now they're making custom merchandise. Wouldn't you love to know what the Etsy vendor thought when they got that order? That's hilarious. Thank you, Marie, for sending that in. I did post it on my blog. Be sure to check out my blog because you know I do audio recordings. I need to add some maybe on my next podcast show. But anyway, I don't have much on today's show. That was the interview with Kimberly was great, and then of course the little note I got from Special Agent Marie Smith. So if you want to be a guest on my show, I would love it. Do you have a funny dating story? Do you have a scammer story? Do you have online dating stories? And if you met your spouse with online dating, we want to hear it because the stories I've gotten so far from the last couple people have just been so good, so good. Also, when you're on my show, you get a free t-shirt, but you know that by now. I am working on my 2022 calendars. I have some printed out. I'm starting to laminate them. So if you would like one, they're free. You just have to email me your mailing address and I'll get those out probably next week. So if you want one, just email me at patsypodcast@att.net or just go to the contact page on my blog and you can put your information in there and I'll get an email about that. One thing before I let you go, Keanu Reeves sent me a copy of his driver's license and a copy of his passport. Wasn't that nice of him? Of course, you all know it's fake, right? You're not falling for that. Whenever one of these guys do send you a driver's license or a passport, it has been photoshopped. It is not real. I talked to Marie Smith about this, Special Agent Marie Smith, and they do a very good job of making them look real, but there's always little details that are missing. So if Keanu Reeves or some other dude sent you a driver's license copy or a real guy would never do that. Ladies, we would never do that, right? So don't fall for that scam, because a real person isn't going to send you a copy of their driver's license, especially Keanu Reeves or any other celebrity. So anyway, that's it for now. I do want to give a shout out to Louisiana, suffering from the effects of Hurricane Ida. If you can do something to help, send money so they can buy bottled water and such. I'm sure there's organizations that are taking donations. American Red Cross, I'm sure is. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Try to see what you can do to help out. So anyway, ladies, I want you to say it with me. Never send money to someone you don't know.